Are you ready for some elasticity questions? If so, then let's play. For $200, the price elasticity of supply of a good is plus 4.0, and its price increases by 10%. The increase in quantity supplied is... what do you think it is? A, 0.4, B, 2.5, C, 40, D, 25. So I would suggest that you use the formula. Okay, I need to stop saying obvious things now. But do you remember the formula? I'll give you 5 more seconds. Hurry up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you got it? It's 40. How do you know? Well, let's use the formula, shall we? So PES equals percentage change in quantity supplied, change in price, right? So if we know the price elasticity is plus 4, then here is plus 4, right? And that's equal to, and the price increases by 10%. So bottom would be plus 10%. Then that means to find out the change in the quantity supplied, we just need to multiply both sides by 10%, and then we're going to get plus 40%. Yeah. So it's gotta be C. Yeah. So to interpret this, if the price of a good increases by 10%, the supplier would increase how much they supply by 40%. So they'll produce quite a bit more. Okay, next question. For $2,000. Many agricultural products are subject to a large fluctuation in price. One reason why this occurs is A. Demand for agricultural products is inelastic in the long run. B. Demand for agricultural products is price elastic in the long run. C. Supply of agricultural products is price inelastic in the short run. Or D. Supply of agricultural products is price elastic in the long run. So I feel this is more like a $10,000 question. But we love challenges, don't we? It's like the sunlight is making my eyes even smaller than they already are. It's like my Asian eyes are squinting so bad. Okay, so any ideas? What did we learn this lesson? Alright, I'll give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Have you got it? It's C. Yeah. So let me explain. The reason that agricultural products are subject to large fluctuations in price is because they are inherently inelastic, right? So if you've got a diagram, I can't see. Okay, here. That's not a very straight line, but it can be used as an inelastic supply curve. So we got price and we got quantity, and this supply, and this is demand. So we can see in this case, if demand increases, then there's a huge change in the price, or demand decreases, a huge change in the price. Similarly, if you've got a very inelastic supply, if supply increases, huge fall in the price, and if supply decreases, again, a huge increase in the price. So for goods that are inelastic especially for price inelastic for demand and supply, they would be subject to large fluctuations in price. And that's because of the diagram and how things work. Don't ask me. So yeah, if we look at this here, A, demand for agricultural products is income inelastic in the long run. Income inelastic is not very relevant because income inelastic just means that if you increase incomes, then you buy slightly more agricultural products. And that's not really explaining the large fluctuation in price, because if you're just buying a little bit more and the elasticity is not relevant to the price change, then it's not going to be the most likely reason. And B, demand for agricultural products is price elastic in the short run. So if the demand of these products is price elastic, then again, it doesn't really explain the large fluctuation in the price, because if it is price elastic, then you can just buy other goods that would substitute for the agricultural products. Because normally for products that are elastic, they tend to have a lot of substitutes. Yeah. So it wouldn't be B. And then D, supply of agricultural products is price elastic in the long run. Again, it's kind of like the same reason. We want the price to be inelastic in order to have a big fluctuation in the price. So because these two demand and supply curves are so steep, then a change in the demand would affect the price by a lot, or a decrease in demand would affect the price by a lot. So the only reason with price inelasticity is C, right? So supply of agricultural products is price inelastic in the short run. That's got to be the answer. And therefore, if there's a sudden increase in price, then, or a sudden increase in demand, there will be a huge fluctuation in the price. Or a sudden decrease in the supply, like a natural disaster, again, there will be a huge fluctuation in the price, because it takes time to grow crops out of our beautiful and fertile and polluted land. Yeah. Okay. Next question. For 16,000 bucks. If I got 16,000 bucks, I might just buy 16,000 pieces of candy or something like that. Because if you buy like something expensive, you don't feel rich, you know. It's like you don't feel that you have an unlimited amount of that stuff. Anyway, when price of strawberries fall from £5 to £4 per kilo, price elasticity of supply for strawberries is A, +1, B, +0.8, C, -0.8, D, -1. So obviously we will need to make use of the diagram in this question. And I shall give you 10 seconds to do that. 10 seconds might be a bit little, considering you also need to use the formula. Although I guess you can always pause the stream, or pause the stram. Okay, do you think you've got it? 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's your final answer? Hope you didn't choose C or D, because that would be wrong. So always remember, the price elasticity of supply is always positive. Yeah, at least in your curriculum. So for IB and A level. And in this case, C and D would not be correct answers because they're both negative. And now we can just calculate it to figure out if it's A or B. So if price of strawberries fall from £5 to £4, again we use the formula. use percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in the price. So if it falls from £5 to £4, that means it's decreased by 20%, if I recall correctly, in terms of the price, not the quantity, my bad. So it would be over minus 20%. And if we go from 5 to 4, that means you're going from this point to this point, and you're going from 100 kilos to 80 kilos. So if you go from 100 kilos to 80 kilos, effectively your the decrease in quantity would be 25%. So if you don't believe me, we can do new minus old divided by old times 100%. Oh, yeah, new minus old, yeah, okay. So 1 over 5 times 100, oh, minus 20%, yeah. Oh, let me just do that for the other one as well. Yeah, that should be, yeah, minus 5 over 5 times 100%. Yeah, so that's 20% as well. So as a result, we get minus 20% over minus 20%, then we're going to get plus 1. Yeah, so it's going to be A, but not B. Okay, next one. For $64,000. The price of good Y, a substitute for good X, rises from 75p to £1 pound. As a result, the demand for good X rises from 3 million to 5 million units per month. What is the cross elasticity of supply? No, cross elasticity of demand. Okay, long day. Okay, A, is it plus 0.5, or B, minus 0.5, or C, plus 2.0, or D, minus 2.0. I've only got 3 words for you. And it's use the formula. I guess the 3 words can also be like use your calculator. Unless you're Asian like me. I'm kidding. Okay. So I believe you should be quite familiar with calculating percentage changes by now, and which is why I went over it quite quickly. And let's see if you're familiar with the cross elasticity of demand formula as well. Do you think you've got the correct answer? So I hope you've got C. So again, if we do this fairly quickly, since it's a substitute, it's got to have a positive cross elasticity of demand, right? So that means it won't be B or D already, straight off the bat. And then let's try calculating it. So we've got 50% chance here. Again, XED formula is percentage change. Oh, this is quite Halloween feel like, right? It's like blood. Percentage change in quantity demand for A and a percentage change in the price for B. So in this case, oh, actually we're using X and Y. So the price of Y increases, right? So the price of Y and then the quantity would be X. Okay, so and then let's calculate the percentage changes. So for X is gonna be what? New, £1 is the new, no, what am I saying? 5 million is the new units, right? That they're selling, minus the old amount of units divided by the old, and then we times it by 100%. Oh, we're going to get what? Plus 66%. And then for this one here, for the percentage change in price, again, new price is what? £1. Minus the old price, 0.75 pence. divided by 0.75 pence. And we times it by 100% as well. And we're going to get what, 1 over 3 times 100%. So that's going to be 33.33333%. Yeah. So then the XED is going to be the percentage change in quantity demanded, which is plus an increase of 66% divided by the increase in the price of good Y, which is plus 33%, and then that's going to be plus 2. Yeah, and that's why it's C. Okay, cool. So always remember the relationship between the two goods. So if it is a substitute, the decrease in the price of one good would lead you to buy more of that good, and as a result, it's going to decrease the demand for the other good, and vice versa as well. We're nearly there. $500,000. Which of the following gives a positive value for the cross elasticity of demand? A. Fall in airfares, increasing demand for holidays. B. Fall in cost of car insurance, increases demand for cars. C. Rise in rail fares, increases the demand for coach travel. Or D. A rise in the price of petrol, decreases demand for cars. Okay, so think again. When does cross elasticity of demand have a positive value? We've just discussed that last lesson. No, last question, not last lesson. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Speaking of which, I don't feel like we're going to travel much often during this coronavirus, so maybe all of these answers don't hold true at the moment. Okay, anyway, do you think you've got it? Have you got the answer in your head? So it's C, yeah? Let me explain. If it's got a positive value for XED, then it's got to be substitutes, right, for the two goods. And now all we need to do is to look for a pair of substitutes in the answer. So we know car insurance and cars, you need one another to drive a car, right? That means they're complements, not substitutes, so it won't be B. Airfares, increasing demand for holidays. Again, airfares or air travel and holidays are complements because you gotta fly somewhere to have a holiday, so it won't be A. Petrol and cars, again, complements. You need petrol to drive cars, won't be D. Whereas C must be substitutes, right? So if you're taking the rail, then you probably won't take the coach. Or if you're taking a coach, you won't take the rail. Or if you're going to Birmingham or Manchester or wherever, or up north in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, C would be substitutes, therefore they would have positive value for the cross elasticity of demand. And to explain this in more depth, if the price of rail fares increases, that means you would take less trains up north. And as a result, instead, you're gonna go pay for the coach. Even though it might take much longer. So it would increase the demand for coach travel. Yeah. So it's C. Okay, final question. $1 million plus. It's stuck. Price elasticity of supply in an industry is likely to be elastic when A. Firms have limited stocks of raw materials. B. There are high barriers to entry into the industry. C. Firms are operating below full capacity. Or D. production involves use of very, very skilled labor. I'll give you 10 more seconds to decide. So think of this question as like how flexible a firm can increase their production if there's like an increase in the market price, right? Or how quickly can a company change how much they produce or supply given the market price changes? Which of these factors would affect that? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's C. Have you got it? So, it wouldn't be A because the firms have limited stocks of raw materials. That means that it's very difficult for them to increase their supply, right? And the mobility of the factors of production or of the inputs here to produce the final product of the firm would be difficult or would be limited. So as a result, if firms have limited amounts of raw materials, it would make them less elastic and less responsive to the market price. So it won't be A. And B, there are higher barriers to entry into the industry. If there are high barriers to entry into the industry, it is not really relevant to how elastic the supply is for an industry. So you can argue that there might be less new entrants coming into the industry, but that doesn't mean that the existing entrants would be able to be more flexible or less flexible. So it's quite irrelevant at this point, or it's not enough information to decide. And then D, production involves use of very skilled labor. If the production needs very skilled labor, that means, again, it's hard to replace the inputs of that company, which is very skilled labor, with like machines or other factors of production. So if it's hard to replace how you produce the good with something else, then that means it's harder to increase your production suddenly because it's hard to find very skilled labor if the market price increases. Therefore, again, it would be less elastic rather than more elastic. So the price elasticity of supply in an industry is likely to be elastic when firms are operating below full capacity. So if you're operating only at 80%, or you're only using 80% of your machines in your factory, then that means you can quickly increase your you can quickly increase your output by ramping up and turning on the other two machines. Or for Domino's, you might very easily just turn on the other two ovens, and you can bake more oven-ready meals, like Mr. Boris always says. It's an oven-ready Brexit deal. Yeah. Or oven-ready Meteor pizza. So that's pretty much it for today.